What's up, everybody? DaTokenBlkGuy here. How y'all doing today? Thanks for joining me on my channel. If you're new here, please hit that like button, subscribe button. I will truly appreciate it. My channel is growing. We just crossed over 50 subscribers. We're shooting for that 100 mark. So each and every one of y'all, I appreciate you. Thank you. I'm a brand new to YouTube, so this is kind of a hobby for me, but I'm kind of getting into it more. So I appreciate you. But with that said, as my channel's growing and evolving, I want to start doing more stuff. So I came with the concept of let's learn something. So it'll be like a weekly series, probably. If y'all like it, I'll continue doing it. But today we're gonna we're gonna learn why North Korea is the hardest country to escape. Now I recently watched Squid Game, so they got me kind of want to learn more about the Korean culture and everything. I know that's South Korea, but you gotta look at the history of North Korea and South Korea together. So I figured this would be a good one to start episode one of Let's Learn Something. So this is from the Real Life War channel. I've watched them before. They have a lot of good information and stuff. So I'll link down below. But yeah, without further ado, let's learn why North Korea is the hardest country to escape.
There is simply no other country in the world today that can be even remotely
Crazy, man. How do you march
compared
like
with
that?
North Korea. Without
Military.
any
I no way I can
exaggeration,
march like
it
that.
is a literal 21st century glimpse into what Nazi Germany would have looked like had it survived after 1945.
That is factual as I have never heard. This is basically how Nazis were back in the day.
It is the world's most hardcore totalitarian regime, where absolute loyalty is always demanded, and where
Yep,
even the
you get killed for it.
slightest sign of disloyalty to the country's absolute ruler can get you sent to one of the regime's numerous concentration camps for life, where you can expect a gruesome fate
Oh,
of
damn.
starvation, literal slave labor, live medical experiments, constant torture, and random execution depending on what the guards feel like doing to you. There is no such thing as.
Can you imagine that? Like, just not being able to say what you want to say. We take our freedom for granted in this country. Like, you can't even whether who's in office or not, you could talk about them. It's your opinion. Everyone has one. But we're not getting drug out in the street and executed for saying I don't like so and so. That's just don't take it for granted, y'all.
Due process or human rights in North Korea, and hundreds of thousands of people are existing right now within these camps, living out this hell every day. This isn't history. It's happening live right now as
That's
you're watching
crazy.
this video and listening to my voice. Obviously, if you were one of the ones trapped inside of this real-life nightmare, you would want to escape. The problem with that is that
I know a couple of years ago, like maybe 5 years ago, that one North Korean military guy escaped across the border. He got shot and everything. I wasn't going to talk about that in this, but I remember that being all over the news.
Korea is without a doubt the world's most difficult country to escape from, primarily because North Korea doesn't allow you to escape. The penalty for even trying to leave the country is
Death?
treason, the camps, and in many cases, death. And
Yeah.
even if you successfully do get out, the North Korean regime has a tendency of going after your family members who stayed behind.
Eat snakes
This
and rats
means your
survive.
spouse, your children, your parents, and even
Yeah.
your grandparents can be rounded up and sent to a lifetime of horror in one of the
That is
camps
crazy,
if
man.
they didn't make it out with you. For many, this is all the deterrent that's needed to keep them in line. Understandably, well, frustratingly so. But if you've made up your mind to leave, regardless of the risks and the consequences, these are the few ways you'd be able to do it. Unfortunately, none of them are easy, and they all have their own challenging geographic issues to account for. The most obvious destination for escape is to South Korea, the exact polar opposite of North Korea, a free, liberal, and rich democracy. South Korea claims legal authority over the entirety of the Korean peninsula, and officially considers all 26 million North Korean citizens her own citizens as well.
I never knew that. Is that because after the Korean War, which officially ended this couple of years ago, but I never knew they consider North Korean citizens to be citizens of their of their country. That's interesting.
This means that if you can make it in, you're guaranteed citizenship, a future,
Hmm.
and are effectively in the clear. But moving
Yeah, why
just
wouldn't you
a
try to
short
escape? I know I
distance
would.
from the north side of one peninsula to the south side is probably the most difficult journey that a human being can make in the 21st century. Walking directly across the southern border is almost impossible because it's literally the most heavily militarized location on the
Yep.
planet. It's completely covered with high walls, electric razor wire, millions of landmines, and is defended by millions of soldiers with live ammunition who have explicit orders to
The 38th parallel, I think it's called. The longitude it runs across there right here. That's where the line is.
shoot to kill anyone foolish or brave enough to try getting across. An escape through here might be the quickest, but it's also the most dangerous and risky. Your odds of success are low, but despite that, many have still tried and come out victorious. In 2017, a North Korean man
2017,
drove his
yep.
car directly up to the military demarcation line between the two countries at the border and dramatically crashed, got out, sprinted across the border under a hail of machine gun fire.
I remember that being on the news.
Border guards, and
We got video of
on
it
the
too.
South Korean side behind a wall before being rescued. He was
Desperation,
shot
man.
5 times and lost
Damn.
half his blood during the quick attempt. But he
Really got
still
shot, but
managed
5
to
times?
survive and now lives in the South. For most people, though, escaping directly into the South like this is simply
Yeah, but how many have tried and failed? Like, you know, you get that one guy who made it, but there's probably hundreds more who have attempted and died. That's just crazy,
too
man.
risky. So they'll take alternatives. While the southern border of North Korea is almost completely impenetrable to escape, the eastern and western sides are covered in ocean, which present their own challenges. Buying a boat and escaping with that is impossible since most North Koreans are severely impoverished, and there's no possible way to buy a boat anyway, even if you did have the money. For most people, that leaves simply swimming to South Korea, which carries the risks of drowning or getting caught by the North Korean patrol boats. In 2016, a man named Chul Yun Lee, who was a high-ranking member of North Korea's Ministry of State Security, decided to defect with a friend using this method anyway. Together, they
swam?
bought a motorbike tire, an air pump, and some food, and came to approximately this location in the west, just behind the DMZ. Once the sun had set, they plunged into the water and began swimming frantically and undetected. Unfortunately, the air pump ended up not working, and they had to abandon the tire and rely on their backpacks to help them stay afloat instead. They ended up swimming continuously for over 4 hours in the dark until they saw an unidentified boat moving towards their location. Fearful that it was a North Korean patrol, they frantically swam to this tiny island here and waited for the boat to leave. But this was during the cold autumn months in Korea, and they were wet with very few clothes. They managed to find some garbage they used to insulate themselves with, got some rest in, and when the sun came up, they found some wooden pallets that they tied together into a makeshift raft with some styrofoam and other trash, and they paddled
Dude, the
back out to sea
desperation,
using
man.
their
These people
hands
just to
and
get
floating
a
with the
better
tide.
life, man. It's
Fortunately for
crazy.
them, they hadn't realized that by this point, they were already well past the South Korean border.
Oh,
and
damn.
South Korean ships quickly spotted them and came to their immediate rescue. They were successful, but many others haven't been.
Exactly. I was saying, how many have
Getting to South
attempted
Korea
and died?
directly by running across the DMZ or swimming around it will result in death or capture. So that leaves getting to South Korea indirectly via another third country.
I was eating because I was stressed out, candy bars and chips and donuts, gaining weight. But since I started Noom, I've lost.
There are 3 other countries nearby North Korea besides South Korea that you can escape towards, but none of them are good
But
options.
China, yeah, but
If you
China,
make it,
yeah.
Japan is probably your best bet because you'll be
You gotta go so
guaranteed your
far.
freedom and sent to South Korea, but you have to make it across the Sea of Japan first, which
You
can
better off
often
going
be
back down.
dangerous and is prone to typhoons, and in the best case scenario, you probably have nothing any better than a small boat. As a result, there have only been 3 confirmed successful cases
Wow.
of defectors actually making it directly to Japan. So it's probably going to be better to look north instead. Up here, the border is significantly less defended or patrolled, and
And it also depends on what part of the country you live in, too.
South. But doing so necessitates crossing into either China or Russia, neither of which are particularly very good options. The border with Russia is only 17 kilometers wide along the Tumen River, and it's easily patrolled by both sides. Even if you do make it across, Russia's official state policy is to immediately deport all North Korean refugees back into North Korea anyway. And as
Yeah,
a
so why
North
go to Russia?
Korean, you're definitely going to stand out here. Hypothetically, you
Yep.
could make it up to the South Korean consulate in nearby Vladivostok and earn your freedom, but getting up there undetected by Russian police would be
Good
almost
luck.
impossible, and as a result, escaping into China is the significantly more popular and less risky
Like you said, like you wouldn't be able to blend in with the Russian population that good, just with your facial features and your, skin tone and everything.
option. Here, the border is over 1,300 kilometers long and follows the Yalu and Tumen rivers that flow through remote, mountainous, and rugged terrain. Patrols and border security through most of this area is light, and the best months to escape in are either during the summer, when the river's depths are at their lowest, or
Yeah,
during the
not going
winter,
wintertime.
when they're
Oh,
usually
actually,
frozen, enabling you to simply run across into China. It's relatively
that makes
easy
sense.
to get into China, but China can't be your new home forever. China isn't safe because, just like Russia, China's policy is to immediately deport all North Korean defectors straight back to North Korea, where you'll
So your best bet is South Korea. I'll take my chance taking the raft or trying to, like that one dude, take my car and just crash across the border. I mean, yeah, if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna at least die trying, not just make it across and then get sent back to die. Like what the hell, man?
almost assuredly face a gruesome end. On the bright side, though, many of China's border provinces here, like Yanbian, have significant Korean ethnic minorities of their own who are naturalized Chinese citizens, meaning that it's fairly easy to hide out here for a while and
Oh.
avoid detection from the Chinese authorities while you plot your next move. If you decide to work with a foreign broker to assist in your escape, they can cost up to $18,000 for their
Damn.
services.
You know,
An
you're
absolute
poor already.
fortune when you consider that the average North Korean earns just a measly $1,300 a year. That is
A
over
year?
10 years of an average
Wow.
North Korean's pay. If you've got the means, a broker can be a good option, but if you
I mean, I knew it was bad there. I ain't knew it was that bad. That's crazy.
don't, the next best option is to probably continue on to the city of Shenyang, where the closest South Korean consulate building in China is located.
That's
If
still
you
a
can
far
make it
away
up
from
here
the
and inside
border.
the building, you're probably gonna be safe, but it's also about 200 kilometers away from
I'm
the
saying
North
it's
Korean
so far
border.
away.
Its perimeter is closely guarded by the Chinese police. If you're caught at any moment trying to get here, well, it's game
Hey,
over. In
yeah.
2004, a group of 44 North Korean defectors managed to storm the Canadian embassy in Beijing all at once. Dressed
wow.
up as construction workers to avoid any detection, they used ladders
Smart.
to scale the walls and successfully got into safety. But ever since then, China has significantly increased their police and security presence around foreign consulates and embassies, especially South Korean ones. So repeating this now would be a lot more challenging. Instead, you
I mean, that was smart, but like it's like a one trick pony, like a one shot deal. Like once you play your card, so like, once you do it one time, they're going to be on to it again. So you can't something you can keep doing. So you got to keep coming up with more creative things. But at least it got those 44 women and children across.
most likely need to get yourself across China and into another country that's more sympathetic to your situation. But the
Yeah,
problem
but
with that is that
China's
China
massive.
is huge, and there aren't many countries around it who will even help you either. Russia will deport you back to North Korea if you get caught there, while Vietnam, Laos, and Myanmar all maintain close relations with Pyongyang as well, and
Yeah.
just like China or Russia, they'll most likely deport you back to North Korea if they catch you as well.
Basically, you're
Getting into
fucked.
India, Bhutan, Nepal, or Pakistan would require hiking through the Himalayas, which pretty much eliminates any of them
Yeah,
as easy
exactly.
options. And so that effectively leaves you only two friendly and realistic nearby destinations to escape into.
About to say
Mongolia
Afghanistan?
or
Oh, Mongolia.
Thailand.
Oh, Thailand.
Mongolia is
The
the
answer to the
closer
left.
choice, and the government here is sympathetic to the plight of North Korean defectors. If you make it up here, they'll deport you to South Korea rather than the North upon arrival. You just have to surrender yourself to the Mongol police. The only
Hey, no
problem
problem.
is that to get here, one must pass through the formidably difficult, freezing, and hostile terrain of the Gobi Desert.
Gobi Desert,
one of
yep.
the world's largest deserts with an abundance of dangerous wildlife,
grab a camel,
hostile
let's go.
temperatures, and few resources to survive on. Navigating through the desert takes a lot of skill that one is unlikely to have ever learned back in North Korea, but nevertheless, some people have made it. In 2007, Park Yeon-mi and her mother escaped across the northern border into China by running across the frozen Tumen River. Because of China's deportation policy, it was impossible for the pair to find any kind of legal work inside of China, and they fell victims to human traffickers.
Oh,
After
damn, that sucks.
months of living beneath the radar,
So not only do you escape North Korea, then you get put into human trafficking. Like, Jesus Christ, man. These people, I feel for them, man. Like, again, don't take for granted what we have here in America or even the free world in general. You know, it's like there are still places, it's 2021, there's still places in the world that like this. And that's sad, you know. But Jesus.
they eventually made their way here to the city of Qingdao and found a Christian missionary shelter. It was there
Okay.
that after nearly 2 years of remaining undercover in China, that they received enough aid from missionaries and human rights activists to finally take a chance and flee up towards Mongolia, with the goal of getting deported to South Korea and freedom.
Long way to
This
go.
incredible mother-daughter pair successfully managed to
It's not
navigate
just-
through the Gobi Desert.
It's not just traveling that far, is staying undetected while you're traveling. So that's even another layer on top of all that, the danger you have to go through.
And reached the Mongolia border, but upon arrival,
Oh,
the
damn it.
Mongolian border guards intercepted them and threatened to deport them back over the border towards China, which would have ultimately meant deportation back to North Korea and the
And death.
camps. Desperate, the pair both drew knives and promised that they'd kill themselves right there.
I mean-
if that's what the guards were going
Can't say I wouldn't done the same thing. Damn, if I'm going back, I'm gonna die my own terms. You're not sending me back to freaking North Korea in those camps.
to do. Sadly, death is often a preferable fate to a North Korean defector
Yeah,
than
exactly.
being sent back to the country and the camps. Luckily for them,
I agree.
the guards took pity and brought them back in custody to the
Good,
capital
good, 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 good,
before
good.
flying them directly to Seoul from there. Today, Yeonmi Park lives in New York City and runs a
Oh.
YouTube channel where she talks openly about her life and experiences growing up in North Korea. They are
pretty.
fascinating, and I highly recommend checking her channel out if you're curious about this kind of thing.
I have to.
The link to her channel will be posted down below in the
Wow.
description. Navigating through the Gobi is so challenging for most, though, that the significantly more popular route is to take a train or a bus undercover across China and attempt to escape into Thailand. These are the 5 closest train stations to the North Korean border within China that connect
Probably
to
guarded as
China's
hell.
vast high-speed rail network. If you hypothetically have the money and the skill to remain silent or undercover, you could board at any of these stations, exit at any of these near Mongolia and run across from there, or exit here at Kunming in China's Yunnan province and attempt to take a bus or run from there towards Thailand. There are plenty of buses that go from Kunming to other Southeast Asian countries, but the problem here is that even if you do somehow make it without getting caught by any of the authorities on a train or a bus, China and Thailand don't share a border, which means that you're going to have to get across the rugged and mountainous terrain of China's Yunnan province, and then get through the remote and dangerous jungles of Laos or Myanmar before finally crossing over the dangerous Mekong
That's
River
crazy.
in order to get to safety. In 2017,
Have to get to Thailand, right?
this is exactly what Park Hyun-woo and his father did.
Every time he says it's impossible to do something, you have that one person that did it. That's crazy, man.
Before they decided to escape North Korea, both of Park's sisters had already made it to freedom in the South and were
job.
covertly sending money back to them in the North. After securing the help of a broker in China, they decided that it was time for them to leave as well. In the dead of a winter night in February 2017, both men crossed the frozen
long ago,
Tumen
man.
River into China
5 years
with
ago?
a pill full of rat poison to kill themselves with if they got caught. One
Hey.
of the sisters and their handler was waiting on the other side with a van and took them to a nearby safe house in the town of Yanji where they changed clothes. From there, they took a train to Shenyang and then another train to Zhengzhou, followed by yet another train to Beijing. From here, they took a series
You know, just thinking about this, it's like, think about the Underground Railroad with the slaves. It's kind of the same concept that they were going through, they were hiding in wagons and putting themselves in boxes, being shipped up north, or even like the Jews and the Holocaust, like the stuff that they had to go through to get away from all that stuff. And in fact, it's 2021 and this stuff is still happening. This is crazy to me, man. I mean, I know about it, but like hearing more details about it and what people had to go through is just insane to me right now.
of buses to Kunming, but as soon as they got there, the Chinese authorities discovered them. Park and his father fled from their bus and became separated, and Park was forced to continue on foot alone through the
Oh, he
dense
lost dad?
jungles of Laos. Eventually
Did
reaching
dad
the
make it?
Mekong River, the final obstacle, Park managed to get across and immediately surrendered himself to the Thai police, who took him into custody and surrendered him to South Korean officials, who flew him back to Seoul and safety. However, his father had been arrested by Chinese police and sent back to a prison near the North Korean border. But for whatever reason, the prison released him, and after getting back into contact with the brokers again,
Oh,
he
really?
made his way back down to Vietnam,
Hell yeah.
and from here was able to avoid all detection and finally got on a plane
here-
bound for Seoul as well.
It's not often you get a second chance in those situations, man. He already learned from mistakes the first time, so he knew what to do. Hey, good job, Pops.
It had taken him 1.5 years and a journey of over 5,000 miles simply
Hey.
to reach a place a mere 400 miles away
That's
from
crazy.
his home. These are the only ways to escape that are available to the average North Korean stranded within the country, and they are all hard and desperate. But
That is
sometimes,
crazy.
even getting to South Korea doesn't guarantee you your safety. In 2002, a woman named Jin Gyong-suk successfully defected over to the south, became a citizen, and married a South Korean man. For their honeymoon in 2004, 2 years later, they decided to travel back to the Chinese-North Korean border to film
Why?
a documentary on the horrors of the North Korean regime. But while there, unidentified men kidnapped Jin and dragged her back into North Korea, where she was sent back to a concentration camp, tortured, and eventually executed, despite
What
having
the
been
hell?
illegal South Korean.
Yeah, I'm about to say, so how did South Korea, you just killed one of my citizens? Like, you kidnapped one of my citizens? What the hell, man? But if I made it across the border, I'm never going nowhere near that border again. Like, man.
Korean resident. Escaping from North Korea is never easy for anyone. All of these options are difficult, and even if you do make it out, you can still very easily be dragged back against your will and killed. There are
That's
countless other
crazy.
stories of heroic people who've defied the odds and escaped through various means.
I wonder what the numbers are of people who actually who've made it across over the years.
Is that it isn't history. You read the horrible accounts of survivors and hear their stories and realize that you're not listening to something from 1940, but something.
That's why I just said, like, this is like happening right now. It's probably somebody right now. I'm filming this or talking. You're watching this. That's in the process somewhere, scared to death, trying to get across that border from wherever they are in North Korea to somewhere they can live a life and have some kind of sanity and safety in life away from that horrors they're living in. And it's 2021, about to be 2022. This is crazy.
Something that could have happened yesterday. The Cold War may have ended everywhere else in the world in 1991, but it never ended in Korea. And if anything, it's worse now than it's ever been before. The modern Cold War in Korea is an incredibly complex and controversial story to tell, with countless other escape attempts that are too graphic to cover on YouTube. The development of nuclear bombs, millions of people who believe that
Crazy son of a bitch
is a literal god, missiles that can now
oh,
strike
chubby
at
Kelly
the
Tubby
heart of
ass.
the United States mainland, the largest arsenal of chemical weapons the world has ever seen, and the fate of tens of millions of people all hanging in the balance. It is without a doubt one of the most fascinating, violent, and controversial conflicts of both the 20th and 21st centuries, and unfortunately, not acceptable for me to cover in detail on YouTube due to their terms of service.
I can imagine.
I know how making videos on YouTube works, and I know that this video already has an incredibly high chance of being demonetized and unpromoted by YouTube's algorithm because of the content I'm discussing. But the moment I really start diving into the whole history of the 21st century conflict between North Korea and South Korea and the United States, what's all at stake, why it all began, how it's been fought, and how it all led to where we are today, it's a guarantee that this video will be censored and you won't get to see it. So instead, I created another full-length companion video in my ongoing Modern Conflict series that's the same length as this video, with all of that controversial but fascinating information included, and uploaded.
Might have to watch that one next. Man, so yeah, like I said, I knew things were bad in North Korea. but not that it was that bad. The things these people went through over, that he talked about in this video, just to get away from all that is insane. Like the journey they had to go to, like I said, reminds me of the Underground Railroad. Freaking, uh, you look at the Nazis and the Holocaust and the Jews and everything. The Jews trying to escape, even like in the 80s and stuff, or even after that, people trying to go from the what was it, East Berlin to West Berlin and stuff like that. And just all the other conflicts across the world. It's like it just it boggles the mind that this is happening in right now. Like I said, there's probably someone right now as we're talking trying to do what they were trying to do, and what he talked about trying to get across the border from North Korea. But hope you learned something today. Like I said, it's the first episode in this series I'm trying out. I mean, let me know if you learned something. If you have any comments about what we talked about today, let me know down below. If you want to see more of these and me continue doing stuff like this once a week or bi-weekly, we'll see how it goes. Let me know down below. Till next time, guys. Token Black Guy. I see you when I see you. Peace.